Yes, sir. Welcome to Dieter and Hutch. I'm Dieter. He's Hutch, and today we're talking about the East-West Shrine Bowl. Man, Jake, I cannot tell you how much joy I derived from watching the East-West Shrine Bowl. We got some practice film. We watched the game. And I know that the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl are fighting out in these streets, these stupid
It's really
Twitter
weird.
streets, totally unbecoming on all parties involved. We love the Senior Bowl too. Maybe not some of the antics, but we love the Senior Bowl. We love All-Star games. We love the Polynesian Bowl. We can't get enough of this stuff. And I think we both found, well, we found a ton of players. We've had to narrow it down to 5 each to share with our audience, and couldn't be more excited to go through these guys.
It was hard to do. I think
Yeah,
we both had a lot of guys. I mean, that's what happens when you look at these games is you go, ooh, this guy could be something. Maybe he's something. Ooh, what about
totally.
what about him? And
Yeah.
then you have to sort of parse, and you're like, all right, well, how many of them are sort of complete players? And the Shrine Bowl gets a little bit forgotten. It wasn't super on my radar until last year,
Right.
but the 49ers got Renardo Green, Isaac
Mhm.
Orendo, both out of the Shrine Bowl. There are a lot of good players there, and it's not necessarily the rejects from the Senior Bowl, but like
I
you
yeah,
do
I
you do
totally
yeah,
disagree with that. This is
yeah,
a lot of high quality. Now, I'm not
I
going to
agree.
say that they have. There should have been a couple of first rounders, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. There are some big time players, but this is our game. Like this is the one that Dieter and Hutch are all over because these are the day 3 boys. These are
Yep.
the guys who are diamonds in the rough and they can move up to day 2. Who knows? Maybe even somebody there finds themselves on day 1 now. But these are the kind of players that you and I love finding and talking about and breaking down. And anyone who wants to impugn the solid reputation of the East West Shrine Bowl, which does so much good in the community, Jake. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it does. I
It,
just don't
it does.
care.
I think it goes to like children's hospitals
That's
or
good. That's
something.
fantastic. That's important. I'm
Shrine.
glad we
Good
can
job on the
participate.
Shriners with their very very ridiculous hats.
They got
So
ridiculous hats, unlike us, and tiny little cars, unlike us. Though all cars I'm in are generally tiny. Let's
nice.
waste no time and get right into
Yeah, where are
our
we starting
boys.
this thing? Let's go to Dieter's list first, folks. We
Yeah,
got we got 5 each. Here's Dieter's dudes. You can see a very recent photo of Dieter in the top left corner.
I think that was my second day at Fox
An
Sports.
emoji available for use for official sickos.
Hey now, hey now, don't threaten me with a good time, Hutch. So I'll just go through my guys here, and then we're gonna go one by one. We'll go back and forth on the guys that we really like. Fadil Diggs from Syracuse. And let me show you. Oh, Fadil Diggs from Syracuse. Aronde Gadsden from Syracuse. Loved me some Cuse in this Shrine Bowl. Apologies. Tonka Hemingway, defensive tackle, South
Oh
Carolina.
yeah,
Hutch and I had to fight over
we,
Tonka
we
Hemingway.
did, we did. I love him. He was like for sure on my list until you stole him.
Yeah.
He's definitely my favorite player you have on your list, but I don't have anything wrong with any of these guys.
And listen, I love your list too. Don't get me wrong. And I think that there was a lot of back and forth that we could have done, a lot of crossover, which is something we always like to see because it means that we're at least ideologically aligned at some level. And we'll certainly find the places we're not as this show continues into the weeks and months to come. Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers, not because I've been Rutgers pilled, as Jake alleges, though I
You are
have.
Rutgers pilled.
I have whatever Greg Schiano's got going around, which, if I remember correctly from his time in Tampa Bay, was MRSA. So have that going. Not so ideal. It's antibiotic resistant, but I love me some Robert Longerbeam, defensive back from Rutgers. There were a lot of good defensive backs at the Shrine
Yep.
game. I was a big fan of what they had going on. And then Traeshon Holden, wide receiver from Oregon. You might remember him from Alabama, is the guy who rounds out my list. But Jake, I had 10 pages of notes. I mean, ridiculous amounts of pluses and minuses. I
Yeah.
couldn't get enough of this. Very difficult to, and I think I changed this list 10 times
Oh,
between
same,
the
same.
start and the finish.
It's really hard to narrow it down. There's too many guys.
And then let's go through your list here. You and I in total agreement on number 1.
Kobe Bryant. So Renardo Green was a guy who again stood out the Shrine Bowl. I think the Shrine Bowl what's awesome is they give you the film and they let you actually see what plays are called.
Mhm.
And I think they call quite a bit of man coverage, which is nice.
They do.
It feels like it's a man coverage oriented bowl. I don't know if that's accurate, but like Kobe Bryant is a dude where I watched him in the Shrine Bowl, and he pops off the tape. He's a guy who he closes. He's super long. He's great around the point of attack. He had 4 interceptions last year, and that's like reflection of how he closes space and ball skills. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say on Cobee, like he's somebody who, when we started this process, I said, take a look at him because I had noted him watching. My Missouri friends are going to hate me watching Kansas football this year. And I'm like, this is a guy. This is a dude. It was unquestioned. I think you would have found Cobee Bryant whether I mentioned him or not. And I think that that's not always the case. Sometimes you need to have a little bug in your ear in order to start looking a little bit more detailed on some guys, because it's just a preponderance of information hitting your eyeballs, right? When you're watching game film, when you're watching practice film. But Cobee Bryant, I think he was such a standout during this process that you didn't need me to put that bug in your ear.
He just pops right off the tape. And then I watched him against Colorado, and he got a few reps against Travis Hunter, and there's one he probably should have got flagged for, and there's a couple times, but Travis Hunter is probably, it's him and Abdul Carter, like the most talented athletes in this class. Those are the two guys. And I watched him at least on 1 3rd and 7 absolutely put the clamps on Travis Hunter. Like
you knew the ball was going to Travis Hunter too. Like it was coming his way.
Yeah. And you watch Shedeur Sanders stare him down. So Cobee Bryant, we're going to get into it in a sec. Ben Urosek, tight end, Georgia. He was a guy that like I was like interesting, and I watched more of him. He's like a really solid blocker. Again, like Charlie Warner, tight ends of Georgia, they're like not necessarily going to be the greatest receivers unless they're Brock Bowers. Like you're either, you know,
just
what I mean?
A little bit of a difference there.
You know, you're either going to have.
You're like you know, Georgia, they're not that good except for the greatest receiving tight end anyone has ever seen.
I have them in both fantasy leagues. This is my point.
Thank God we got in a fantasy reference. No,
they're
at Georgia they do force you to be an all-around tight end, and they will lean more towards the blocking side than the receiving side by default.
They do a lot of H-back stuff, a lot of like weird inline offset, and I'm really impressed with how he is as a blocker, and I think he has the athleticism to be a decent receiver. I don't think he has a ton of receiving chops, but I think the floor is high as a blocker, and there's some athleticism. A guy who, next guy, JJ Pegues. Dude,
this guy's silly.
This guy is wild. He is listen, like he's got some inconsistencies in his game, but in terms of like game wrecker potential, like take him versus Deion Walker for Kentucky. Yeah, I like kind of prefer Pegues. I know that's wild, but like
no, it's not wild at all. That's totally salient.
He's rounder, he's stouter, his pad level's better, and when he wins, he is absolutely destructive.
In an all-star game, you're looking for dudes who look like men against boys, right? Because now we've upped the level of competition. To get there, you had to look like a man against boys, right? And this is not uncomplicated. At the NFL level, you want guys who look like men against boys. In any sport, that's what you're looking for. In women's sports, you're looking for women against girls. It's not that complicated.
Right.
The best players are the ones who look like they're playing on a different level than everybody else. When JJ Pegues wins, he wins so emphatically, it's impossible not to note it. Right? Defensive tackle's a position where there's a lot of nuance into, did he win this rep? Did he lose this rep? Like, I don't know. Like, I like this and I like that. Yeah. Pad level, all these little micro things. JJ Pegues is macro. Everything about him is large and just overt, and I love it. I can't get enough of him.
He's rotund.
He awesome. Was a tight end at Auburn. He was a tight end at Auburn. He transfers to Ole Miss. It's not impossible to believe when you watch this boy move. When you watch this boy move, you understand. We'll get into the tape on him. Who else do you have?
Next guy, Drew Kendall. He's listed as Kendall Drew on here because I looked at the roster and I mixed it up. And in my mind, I kept calling him Kendall Drew. And
this is why you never trust a man with 2 last names, because you can misspell it like this.
I botched it, folks. So Kendall Drew, he had hhis Boston College teammate next to him, and you go, oh, okay, there's a chasmic gap between this center, Kendall Drew is a center, and his teammate, whose name I honestly don't know, but is 66 and 67.
Yeah.
67, folks, is not Drew Kendall. He was getting worked. And Drew Kendall was
You're talking about Jack Conley. So Jack Conley was the guard.
Sorry to Jack Conley, but he was getting worked on.
And Drew Kendall was the center/guard. And
Drew Kendall's just stout, dude. Like he was... I saw him really reliable in pass protection. I don't know that he's like the craziest athlete out in space, but like he generates some force at the point of attack and seems like he knows what he's doing. Like I watched a lot of these matchups, and I didn't see him losing. I saw
No.
somewhere he was working with some like mediocre offensive linemen working on twists and stunts, and I was impressed there. So
Yep. It makes you wonder if Jack Conley got invited because he played next to Drew Kendall the whole season.
I
And
genuinely
and the fact that they rarely separated them gives me that indication. Boston College, a hell of a program. They put some players in the league, don't get me wrong, but there was a, as you said, chasmic difference between the two interior offensive linemen, and you picked the right one, even though you spelled his name wrong.
I did spell his name. Well, I didn't spell it wrong. I put it in the wrong order, which is
right. Well, Kurtenbach
whatever.
Dieter disagrees with your assessment.
Yeah. Last guy here who I'm really excited about, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Anyone who watched the game knows.
Anybody who watched the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is probably no one watching, or you watched part of it, he was dominant in that game. And sometimes in those games, you go, like, how much of that is real?
Are they tackling? You know, how much are they putting out there? You're a running back. You should have this. Yeah,
right. Inconsistent, bad defense. But so he popped off, and I went, all right, I liked what I saw, but I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. And I watched his one game. He played one game for Arizona against UNLV, which is a pretty bad defense. At least in that game, they looked terrible. He had some. He transferred, and he played one game this season. He was at
New Mexico, right? And then he transferred to Arizona. Yeah.
Yes, and he had some weird eligibility issues, so he played exactly one game. And I watched the one game, and I go, "Whoo, this boy can scoot, and he's physical. He's like weirdly patient, a great jump cutter. I think he has no idea how to run routes. At least when I watch in the one-on-ones, and he's running a wheel, and he just starts running as fast as he can. The linebacker's like, okay, I can cover you because there's no deception here. Right. But in terms of like, you put the ball in this guy's hands, I think he has genuinely got the potential to be a starting caliber running back, just from how I watch him. And I'm pretty excited about this guy. Again, there's a lot of unknowns because of the one game played, but I like a lot of what I see.
So let's go into the film here, and let's start with my man Fadil Diggs from Syracuse. So let's be clear about what Fadil Diggs is and isn't. So this is a guy who at Syracuse was a stand-up linebacker, okay? And they would pass rush him, don't get me wrong, but they moved him around like crazy. Think Van Ginkel a little bit with Minnesota, with Minnesota, but not that dynamic. They weren't doing anything that complicated. So you'd sometimes find him in the A-gap, but he was mostly a stand-up edge rusher off of a 30-stack defense at Syracuse. This is not even a great rep. I do think that it highlights, though, why I like him. Watch these feet move. Look at this. Look at just the scoot on this boy. This is athleticism for days. Now, he loses it. Now, 71 was a good player. 71 had some good reps in this. But this is a guy who just has, in my opinion, unteachable athletic talent. We're not going to play the copyright game with the ACC. They're big fans of hitting people with the cease and desist. I do recommend the Fadil Diggs highlight tape because I just want the highlight tape. And let's be clear about this. We're not talking about anything more than I would go as high as round 4, but we're talking about a developmental day 3 prospect with Fadil Diggs, who I think would be greatly benefited by a move strictly to end without those extra responsibilities and with some more guidance on, because he doesn't know how to rush the passer. What he has is incredible physical ability. The guy he reminds me a lot of, Jake, is a young Leonard Floyd.
Wow.
Skinny, but just great motor, high IQ, and athletic, and doesn't even need all these moves to do it. He's just going to find a way. You put him opposite Bosa. Obviously, they tried that with old Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
And I think as a rotational guy, third down rotational guy, maybe never someone who's going to bump inside because of his stature, but just as a strict pass rusher who also, gives you some ability in the run game because he's had to set the edge in, consistently at Syracuse. And I thought he did a really good job of it in the games that I've watched of him. Fadil Diggs is a guy who not everyone's going to love him. I get that. And I don't think he'll ever be a day 2 prospect. But I think he has athleticism that will show at the combine. If he gets invited, I'm not even sure if he will. And I haven't seen the list yet. I think the athleticism there is such that someone's going to say, oh, we can work with this. And when they put a guy who shows an incredible football IQ in game film at one position and just give him one job, he's going to really pop. So Fadil Diggs might be my biggest boom or bust here, but I every snap I watched of him, I couldn't get enough of him. Fadil Diggs is my guy.
I love the upside there, and I don't disagree at all. I think he's really intriguing. Honestly, the Leonard Floyd thing, like Leonard Floyd had some really good moments for the 49ers last year. It's just like not somebody you want setting the edge, and he's a cleanup man. So we're going to get into, I would say, both of our guy. This is Cobee Bryant. Yeah. He's got awesome tape for days. You're going to watch him over here.
He's in the slot here.
He's in the slot here. He's going to get a great pass breakup. He's a little handsy. He's
definitely a little handsy, and that's going to be an issue for some guys.
It's going to be he's going to get flags in his rookie year, but like he stays in hip pockets all day long. You're gonna see him again here down at the bottom. I want to say this is going to be this is just carrying. This is against Nick Nash. He's just carrying the vert.
Can we talk about Nick Nash for a second?
Yeah.
What did you think of him? This is the San Jose State quarterback turned wide receiver, won the Triple Crown last year in all of college football, receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. Obviously an immense player in the Mountain West. I saw a lot of things to like, and I saw a lot of things that made me wonder if he can play at the next level. What did you take away from
I was like a little bit underwhelmed, and then I saw some stuff where I was like, okay, I see the pop there. I don't quite know what to make of him yet, and I think I need to watch more of his tape to get a sense. But
it was nothing but hits at San Jose State, my friend. Let me tell you,
I didn't see him separating consistently against some of these tougher corners in the Shrine Bowl game, and that gave me cause for concern. I'm going to go back to Bryant here for what, if I recall correctly, is him against Travis Hunter. This is a third and 7, folks. So
top of the screen.
Top of the screen. Again, you're going to see like Travis Hunter. So it's right up here, this matchup.
The Heisman Trophy winner.
Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with Travis Hunter, but this is against Travis Hunter. 3rd and 7. You got Shedeur Sanders looking at him. He's all over him. Maybe too handsy, but he's got the clamps on him. You're going to watch Shedeur Sanders, and he's going to look, and he's going to say, where's my guy? I'm looking for him.
Right.
I'm looking
for
him.
The Heisman Trophy
Watch
winner.
his helmet. He's looking.
There's nowhere to go.
Going nowhere. So that's the thing with him is he's just like he's gonna lock people up. Oh, this is him, by the way. This is the last one I'll show. Right down here. He's gonna just drive. Yeah. They're gonna try and run like a quick speed out. All over it. Going.
By the way, note who is at the 40-yard line right there. That's Diggs. He got from the line of scrimmage to the 40-yard line in like 2 steps. So that's
quick.
He's got something. I don't know if he's a good football player, but that boy can run. Okay, let me talk to you about a guy also from Syracuse. We're talking positively about Kansas and Syracuse. Again, I might be no longer an alumni of the University of Missouri by the time this is done. Oronde Gadsden Jr., his daddy, great wide receiver for the Dolphins back in the day. Great might be a stretch, but a longtime pro. 19. Now, you were talking up what was his name? I apologize. The Georgia.
Ben Urosek.
You were talking him up as a blocker, and there's been a lot of buzz over this Notre Dame tight end. Again, we're going to just continuously fail on names, but Notre Dame tight end. I had it right here. Apologies. Notre Dame, this is Mitchell Evans. A lot of people like Mitchell Evans a lot in this draft as sort of a tight end sleeper. I didn't see it. What I did see was Gadsden, who is a lankier fella, to be fair, right? He's tipping at 240, maybe. Long. What I saw was arguably the best receiver of the football at this game. And I'm not talking about strictly tight ends. I'm talking about of anybody. So let's take a look here at just a simple boot action. You got, I believe, Kyle McCord here at quarterback.
Yeah,
we'll get into quarterbacks.
One or 2 days, but
so there's no blocking here, right? First off, not a great rep for our boy 88. This is the West Virginia defensive end who I thought was pretty good. I mean, just go away. Now here comes Gadsden across. I mean, this is a sweet catch, gets 2 feet in. This is the kind of stuff that you just can't teach. He is a absolute menace in the receiving game.
Hell of a play by McCord there.
McCord's got something. I don't know if it's enough to be an NFL caliber quarterback, but he's got something. And I'm sure Kyle loves this rep.
In a weak draft, you can't count guys like him out.
So there's a lot of buzz about him being the 3rd guy off the board. So Oronde Gadsden Jr., I think that he blocks just enough, but he was a big-time player for Syracuse this past year. No one watched because it was Syracuse football. But McCord's got a lot. I mean, Gadsden has a lot going on. Obviously, I love Diggs. They had some dudes on Syracuse this year, and I think Gadsden has a chance to be the most impactful tight end from this class. There's a lot of really good ones, and I know the Penn State guy everybody's hot on. Gadsden can just catch the ball, and if we're keeping a Niners perspective on things, I think it's huge to have that receiving threat, especially in the red zone. You can go now to 2 tight end sets, have George Kittle there. Everyone knows, hey, Kittle. Well, if you bring in tight end that's more receiving focused, but will give you a chip every now and again. I mean, he's not totally inept. He's just not built for it, not built for that run blocking. But if you bring him in as a receiving threat in the red zone, that could change a lot of things for you. He was an absolute monster. I think he had a 50% contested catch rate this year. It's just absurd numbers. Great hands. Again, Daddy is an NFL wide receiver, and he's playing tight end. A lot of people think he should be a kind of a split end. I say this all with the 49ers perspective because I am convinced to my core that if the Kansas City Chiefs are allowed to select Oronde Gadsden Jr., that he will become the next Travis Kelce. It will not happen anywhere else. I'm not saying that he is Travis Kelce. What I'm saying is he is such a sweet receiver that if you let him go to the Kansas City Chiefs, it's over. It's over because he's not Travis Kelce in stature. I don't think he can block as well as Travis Kelce, but this dude is sweet with the mitts and sweet in the route running. And that's the Travis Kelce game. And they will just have a plug and play replacement who will terrorize everyone for the next 10 years because they're not even running plays with them. He's just out there doing whatever he wants. And whatever he wants is really, really awesome if you have a safety or a nickel back. So Oronde Gadsden Jr., don't let somebody else get him. Just don't let somebody else get him. And for a day 3 option, I think this is about as good as you could possibly get.
I love it. I see the upside there. I mean, the speed, the hands, you can clearly see the receiving upside. My guy, Urosek, we're going to go to him here. He is more we talked about it, more in that traditional sort of blocking, flexible tight end mold. That's him on the edge. Nice block there. We're going to get another one from
killer about him, but I don't think you're worried about playing. Rookie tight ends are a big question mark, right?
It's
inherently.
It's tough,
I don't think
dude.
there's a big learning curve for a guy like this who's blocking.
I think with rookie tight ends especially, you want something that you're going to be able to latch on to. And with him, it's that he played in a variety of different roles, and he had to block in a variety of different roles. This is probably my favorite clip from him. This is a touchdown that is not entirely him, but it's entirely him. You're going to watch him. He's right over here, and he's gonna create the opening. I think it's for the B gap here for this touchdown for ETN, and it's a thing of beauty. Pop. There it is.
Bam.
Right behind him.
Come
right
on, Imbic.
Right
I love
him.
ETN. I love ETN, by the way.
Dude,
for whatever that's worth,
yeah.
I'm all in on ETN. Now that's big time, big school, not day 3. ETN
right.
could go day 2.
He's at the Senior Bowl.
We'll get to him. We'll get to him.
Yep.
Let me talk to you about Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers. Okay, we're all about the Scarlet Knights here. And Robert Longerbeam, let's be very clear about what this is. This is a round 7 draft pick, okay? This is a guy who does not have the physical traits that you're feeling great about when he's lining up with number 1, number 2, number 3 wide receiver. You don't love it. What he is, though, unquestionably, is a gamer. This dude has a mean streak to him. He's a puncher. He's out there looking to inflict pain. And I loved his rep. I mean, I didn't cut him up. I apologize. I highly recommend watching some Rutgers football. And maybe as we get deeper into the draft, we will have those reps for you. But I love the tenacity that he showed at the Shrine Bowl. They had some damn good wide receivers. A couple that we didn't mention. You were going on about Travis Hunter. He obviously wasn't there because he's, Travis Hunter. But a couple guys I really like. I liked the other two Colorado wide receivers. I think Jimmy Horn Jr. has a lot of twitch to him. Yeah. And then Will Shepard was Brady Cook's number one option with the starting offense.
You didn't even mention the other Colorado wide receiver.
LeJohntay Webster?
Yeah, Webster. Yeah,
I have a couple pluses on him.
Yep. He's got a little wiggle to him.
Listen, say what you will about Coach Prime. I'll call him Dion because his mama calls him Dion. Shout out Mark Jackson. But Dion can recruit some receivers. I mean, there's no question. He got the Heisman Trophy winner and then 3 other guys who should unquestionably be drafted. I think of all 3 of those guys, I like Horn the most. I think Horn was a really interesting player. So there were some really good reps here with the West.
Shepard to me is like a Nick Westbrook-Akine. Like there's not much to him, but he's got enough speed and enough size and enough know-how that he just makes some like really nice catches, even though he's like not going to be a great separator.
Well, let's take a look at what he did here against my man, Longerbeam, where this is just a quick fade route. He's taken a lot of steps to nowhere, and Longerbeam's just all over. Give me that. And there, you'll see on the tape when we watch it down the line, there is a lot of Longerbeam. Maybe he lost. Maybe he lost the rep. But you know what he does at the end? He finds the football and he punches it. This dude had more pass breakups when the guy's coming down to the ground than anyone I've ever seen at the college level. It was like 10 straight minutes of here, guy makes the catch, and then Longerbeam knocks the ball out of his hands as if to almost create a fumble. I mean, he had it down. This is his game. Okay, you got the catch on him. That's great. You got to complete the catch on him. This dude's tenacious. He's a fighter. I'd love him on the inside. I'd love him on the outside as a depth option. At the NFL level, it just wouldn't shock me in the least bit if he made a roster, was an impact player on special teams, and that if you gave him the chance, he just kept finding a way to win because he does have enough. He has the requisite to be an NFL player, and it's that tenacity that you just can't teach that I'm all in on. I'm going to take the guy with the tenacity over the guy who has all the athletic traits but doesn't seem to know what the hell he's doing out there. This guy has it all between the ears from what I can tell. We'll find out. Has it all between the ears from what I can tell. And he just makes plays. I'm also just betting on Rutgers. I'm going to bet on Rutgers because everyone they produce is a mean son bitch. They're downright devilish.
Yeah. You ever hang? Yeah. New Jersey makes you agitated, and that can translate to performance. So
if you lived in Piscataway, you'd feel the same way.
I don't even get me started on Piscataway.
Who we got next?
We got our boy JJ Pegues, folks.
Oh, this is so much fun.
This man, you're gonna watch him. He's gonna
big boy be moving.
He's gonna be right over here. He's gonna come this way. And
can we just note the title of the MOV that you've created? Good grief. .mov.
That's what we're working with. So here's JJ Pegues. You're gonna watch him, and 78. I am so sorry.
You're done.
Oh no.
No. You thought I was going on with.
Oh no. I'm sorry, brother. He's like, what was that? What just happened to me?
It's a blur of a man. I believe that kid is 78. Who the hell is 78?
Yeah, we're
78 was the kid from Lindenwood. Yeah, you didn't face anything like that at Lindenwood.
He throws up his arms like, what was that? We got one more for you. That's just total destruction. So look, I even telestrated it for everyone. Previously, look at that incredible circle.
Not hard to figure out who we're talking about, though. Get on the ground.
Oh my goodness. Look at him. That boy is a monster.
Yeah. This is a guy, again, was a tight end at Auburn, was a good tight end at Auburn. And he goes to Ole Miss, puts on some weight, but still moves like a tight end. I mean, he just took on an extra block for fun there. He's like, I'll take this guy on too. Get him out of the way. I'm tackling him.
He's like, look at me. He's like, oh man.
They used him as a short yardage back at Ole Miss. He is a special athlete. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you want JJ Pegues highlights, you're not getting any defensive plays. You're getting nothing but offensive plays from JJ Pegues because they used him as a short yardage back and he was excellent at it. He was a 320-pound man going over the pile.
That's awesome. I mean,
it's awesome.
And listen, like we talk about Walter Nolan because he's the Ole Miss, defensive tackle everyone knows, but Pegues is for real too. Also, Nolan is still the truth.
Here's the part about Pegues that people aren't going to fall in love with him the way that we have. And by the way, we got to shout out our friend Larry Kruger, who first told us about Pegues, or at least told me about Pegues, and got us excited to watch this film about him. He's the fourth best defensive lineman on Ole Miss. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's not good. Like, why would I draft the fourth best offensive lineman on a team? And the answer is because Ole Miss has more talent than anyone knows what to do with. They were an obscene collection this past season. And just because he's the fourth doesn't mean that he's not. Listen, this is you pay big money, you get good players.
They underachieved, man.
Well, maybe because Jackson Dart loves to throw it to the other team in big situations. They lost to Kentucky.
I know. It's the thing is, like, you watch Jackson Dart and you're like, oh my God. And then you go, ooh, no, not a chance.
No, Jackson Dart's a 7-on-7 merchant. And the second that he has somebody up in his face or the cheese is binding, he just doesn't have it. He does not have situational football. If you mixed him and Riley Leonard into one quarterback, they'd be incredible. They'd be the best quarterback in the world because Riley Leonard has none of the physical traits and all of the situational skill.
Also kind of like the North Dakota State kid.
I didn't feel any type of way about him, but we can die.
It might just be that I saw him a lot.
It's fair. I also will say this. I don't think the Niners are going back to the North Dakota State well anytime soon. Just a theory. Here's a well they should go back to because it's been very successful. Even this year, you could argue, somewhat successful. South Carolinians. And I'm talking about our man, and this name is just so perfect. We're talking about Tonka Hemingway.
Which, let me just say, that is the greatest name. I think is the greatest name I've ever heard because it's simultaneously, they called him Tonka because he was so large as a child, obviously.
That
which
checks
is what
out.
You would expect. But Hemingway,
by the way, instead of calling him Biggie or something, a great subversive nickname. There's not a lot of great nicknames anymore. I think these folks in South Carolina with Debo, that's that cool subversive nickname. There's levels to it, right? It's Debo from the movie Friday. Tonka, we're not calling him Truck, we're calling him Tonka. Like, these South Carolinians got it figured out when it comes to nicknames, and all the respect in the world to them.
I'm with you. And then the Hemingway just elevates him even more. Like he is both a brute, but he's also reflective.
An artist.
Yeah. He's reflective. He sits, he's very pensive. He's watching tape. He's a smart man. He thinks about things outside of football, but not too much because he is still at the end of the day going to run through your face.
Yeah, so let's see what he does to this poor gentleman from Minnesota Duluth that you had an eye on.
Well, I quickly took my eye off after this.
Sky Duluth, just not even. It doesn't even look fun for him. It's so easy.
He has no business being that quick.
Nope. Here we go. Off the line. Pop. Done. And at this point, if I was Tonka Hemingway, I would say, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to take the rest of it off. But then he goes in and just wrecks the game at the defensive tackle position in the contest. Tonka Hemingway. And if I saw one rep of this guy, just absolutely anchoring, lifting up his offensive lineman, and driving him 5 yards backwards. If I saw one more rep of that in one-on-ones or in team drills, I was going to feel like I was taking crazy pills because it was just repeated. This dude is a gap stuffer of the highest order. He does have that upside, right? Like, so you're talking about Pegues and all this flash. You can get blinded by flash. What's the first responsibility? You say it all the time, Jake. You got to earn the right to rush the passer. You earn that right by holding your goddamn gap for one flipping second at any point this season. The defensive tackles need to hold their goddamn gaps. This guy can hold a gap. Now, there's a lot of really good gap holders in this draft. I have been enamored with so many players that we've been able to watch, and we obviously got at defensive tackle early. We've even found some more since we put out that video and excited to get back into it. But Tonka Hemingway needs to be considered in that upper echelon of gap holders. And the fact that he's a day 3 prospect, I think that will hold, but I'm not certain it will hold. He might be able to move up into round 3. I think that anything beyond round 4 would be foolhardy. But, teams do dumb stuff all the time. And at some point, there's a run on third corners, and the defensive tackles get shot. Any other draft, this guy would be talked about as a classic day 2, but because defensive tackle is so deep, and a guy like J.J. Pegues is the 4th best defensive lineman on his own flipping college team, the fact that it's so deep, we just have a plethora of great day 3 options. And guys like this, and again, I don't mean this with any disrespect because we love you, Shrine Bowl, but a guy like this is going to the Shrine Bowl. Yep. That's telling on how great this defensive line class is, particularly defensive tackle.
Dude, it's serious. And how do you counter that? You get an interior offensive lineman.
Oh, I love it.
We got Drew Kendall here. I just got one clip of him. And this is him working with this guy, 75, John Williams, who you absolutely despise.
I hated him.
I was like intrigued. I was like, oh, this guy is for real. He's like a tackle guard mix. He's pretty stout. And then I watched him completely whiff. And I don't know how to feel about him. He is a guy I would love to pick up as an undrafted free agent and then see what's in there. That's where I'm at with him. But number 66, he's a center. He's a center, but he's playing here at left guard, and you're going to watch him. And this is they got a twist coming, and he just handles it super well. Pow,
pop, pop,
pow.
That's elite stuff.
That's
good stuff. He's a stout boy.
He's really stout. And again, I don't know how he's going to test. But
I don't really care.
I don't really care. I think if he is above the threshold of like, oh, if you're a terrible athlete, then no. There's a certain point where you cut him off. But like, this is a guy that I think we're talking about for sure day 3, maybe round 3, depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
He
was round 6 or 7 last time I checked, but I think he's going to move up, especially in a center class that. Let me know what you think about this. It does not strike me as impressive. I think there's a lot of fringe NFL guys. There's a lot of like, oh, I don't know, maybe he's on a practice squad, but nobody who you're like, oh, you're going to let him start right
Certainly
away.
Haven't found my Tanner Bortolini yet. Certainly haven't.
Have we checked in on Tanner Bortolini?
Yeah,
Have we let him know?
He's starting for the Colts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who could have seen that coming? That guy. Oh, wrong way. That guy.
Also, remember when just saying the Rams got Bo Limmer. I'm not saying Bo Limmer is the greatest player of all time. He's got a lot of ups and downs, but he did start for an entire year for what ended up being a playoff team and had some pretty nice moments.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they took, I forgot his name, Jarrett Kingston over him and then let him go anyway.
Okay.
Whatever.
So you know how I was talking big ups on Robert Longerbeam? I still maintain them. Okay. I love Robert Longerbeam. I think that he's a very impressive corner and that's somebody that the Niners should give the shot to. But let me tell you about Traeshon Holden. Traeshon Holden's college career just didn't work out. There's no nice way to put that. He just never broke out. He was at Alabama, transfers to Oregon, and most he's had in a season, 700 yards. There's something about this guy, though, that I think has a chance to be a really solid NFL wide receiver. Here he is against Longerbeam. You know what Longerbeam's you just can feel it coming off the screen. This dude is pressed up man to man, and he is talking shit. This guy's entire temperament is shit talker. I love him. Can't get enough of him. Watch Holden just brush him aside on this rep. It was smooth. Bye-bye. Now, is it a good rep from Longerbeam? No. Is this a great wiggle, explosion, and acceleration from Holden? You bet. Holden.
That's special.
I wrote it down. I wrote down special. And then I watched a bunch of more reps, and I couldn't stop thinking special. Then you watch the college tape, and there are big plays. What he lacks, elite speed. He's more of a 4.6. Okay. But I don't care. Like, that stuff is important when we're talking about first round, second round talent. You know what's more important? The ability to separate from a cornerback. And 0.2 of a second in the 40-yard dash does not teach smoothness, wiggle, or burst. And those are the things that you're looking for. And this kid has all of it. He's smooth, Everything he does, it looks like he's gliding. That's one of the telltale traits of a great receiver, in my opinion, because he's not coasting, he's gliding.
Speaking of gliding, we're not going to get to him because he's so obvious, but Siobhan Ravel out of East Carolina, he was also at the Shrine Bowl.
Smooth.
He glides.
You want to see the guy. Christian McCaffrey at his absolute best looks like he's skating across the field. That's the kind of athletic trait you're looking for. Smooth is fast and fast is smooth. This kid is smooth. Wiggle, the ability to create separation with small movements. I mean, we just watched a lot of one-on-one film from the Shrine Bowl. These are guys out here fighting for their professional lives. I totally understand the impetus to show everything you got. There are dudes taking 42 steps before they make a step forward, right? It is a lot of movement on air, a lot of razzle dazzle.
Happening in the Senior Bowl, too.
Everywhere, right? They're trying to make an impression. They're trying to create separation, but they don't have it inertly in their system. They're not built that way. So they're doing all their tricks, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this guy doesn't have to do any of that. He does this, his hip goes that way, his body goes this way, and he's just gone. And you didn't know how it did it. He's slithery. You want snake-like abilities. And then accelerate. This guy's able to accelerate in and out of breaks, right? And he's able to decelerate as well, which is something interesting that maybe doesn't get enough recognition. The ability to not just accelerate out of a break, but into a break and then coming out of it is very different. I think Traeshon Holden has a chance to be a really, really successful NFL wide receiver on day 3. It didn't work out at Oregon. It didn't work out at Alabama. The fact that he was there, I mean, you think those coaches are dummies? They saw it. It didn't work out. Stuff happens. And maybe he doesn't have it. But for the risk, the reward is so immense. I think on day 3, Traeshon Holden is a name you have to have circled on any draft board.
No question about it. And my guy, to finish this off, is in a similar situation to Corey Krosky-Merritt, running back out of Arizona, who just had an eligibility issue and played exactly one game. And here's the one game. You're going to see, this is, as the title says, this is a big boy run. This is a big boy run.
We love big boy runs here. Gets into the gap.
Should be stopped. Should be stopped.
Slides out. Wow. That's a big boy run.
And you're going to see it from the other angle. He's got speed. He's got physicality. He's got a level of patience that is really impressive.
Just like I was talking about with Holden, the ability to accelerate into the cut and out of the cut, to not have to stop to make that cut, that's awesome, right? He gets that foot way out there to be able to press off of it coming into the gap.
I believe this is him in pass protection too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is him in pass protection. This is going to be a touchdown. Picks him up.
Nice.
I think that's, Fafita escapes. And there's McMillan, who I don't totally know what to make of him. I'm not sure he really runs any routes, but he just catches every ball thrown to him. So that's pass protection.
Someone will do it, or I saw McMillan get jammed up by a UNLV guy just in press, and you're like, that ain't great.
Yeah. So this is just one more clip of Krosky-Merritt. This is the little patience cut.
Nice.
And then he rumbles for 10. So that little that jump cut through, and then it's a 10-yard gain. He's elite at falling forward. He's got the ability to jump cut at a legitimately elite level. He's got speed that I think he's at least going to be an 80 percentile guy in the 40-yard dash. I just think, I don't know how he is as a receiver. I'm not sure he knows how to run routes or whatever. But I like what I see from him. It was great in the Shrine Bowl, and in the one game he played this year, I was really impressed.
It's a great one, and he was unbelievable in the Shrine Bowl. It's really interesting because he had it on a helmet, right, and has Arizona on one side and New Mexico on the other, and you're like, who the hell is this guy? But you got to give some deference to the Shrine Bowl coaches. They were giving him rep after rep after rep. They were really intrigued by what they saw in practice, and they wanted to give him a lot of opportunities. So I love the Shrine Bowl. It is our wheelhouse through and through. Again, we could have gone on, and I think we added in a lot of guys that we didn't initially want to talk about. But Just some really outstanding. I'm going to shout out a couple more that I liked, and we won't get into them, but just Antoine Powell Ryland, an edge from Virginia Tech, I really liked. Dalton Cooper, a tackle from Oklahoma State. Nazir Stackhouse, defensive tackle from Georgia. Who else? I had Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt circled here, so that's fun. One more. I'll give you one more. How about Corey Thornton, defensive back from Louisville? And then you got most of my guys from the East. The East was unimpressive, but you and I both noted before the show, Carter Runyon, tight end out of Towson. So have at that. And then a couple of pretty good players from Cal. Go Bears. I liked Marcus Harris more than I liked Noel Williams, but it seemed like the coaches at the Shrine Bowl liked Noel Williams more than they liked Marcus Harris. They liked
Noel Williams, and I was with you. I didn't see it a ton with him. He led the nation in interceptions. I think he had 7, but
don't sleep on Justin Wilcox's defense. One more for you. Zy Alexander, defensive back out of LSU. Transfer from Southeast Louisiana State, made the transfer from there to LSU seamless, was outstanding for the Tigers last year. Bodes well for transfer from the college level to the NFL level.
Should be day two guy. He was. I was like, I don't know, and then you see it, and he's really fluid and long, and just stays in the hip pocket of guys. A lot of good players. We'll get into the Senior Bowl.
Got a lot of Senior Bowl to grind.
So we got that coming up next, and lots of good stuff for you. Subscribe, like, whatever. Leave comments if there's anyone we didn't get to or anyone you want us to talk about. The Senior Bowl, whatever it is, and we'll get to it.
Absolutely. We're going to do not like a subscribers only, but a SICKOS only show. If you guys got requests, we're going to fulfill the requests. It's going to be a requests only show. So you got to get them in so that we can get it in. And listen, it might be a little choppy here. We got another kid coming, and that's not my call on when it arrives. If it was my wife's call, it would be a long time ago. So we're going to see how we can play this one out. But listen, if I'm grinding tape, if I'm you want to talk about sicko energy, if I'm grinding tape in the delivery room, you know that we're in it to win it. And we absolutely are going to be in it to win it. Looking forward to the next one on the Senior Bowl. Looking forward to NFL free agency. Maybe there's a Brock Purdy contract to talk about. We got it all coming your way. Subscribe, like, share, tell a friend or 5 that you like our stuff or that you hate our stuff. We appreciate hate watching too.
Either
if you made
way,
it this far, it works for us. All right, everybody, have a good one.